Look at that.
to
So your
Mixtapes and
that
Mopeds
was your Halloween scare.
with Red Wheels and Panda, the fastest growing podcast on the internet. Thank you for all your questions, posts, and everything. We love you. Please like, share, tell everybody in, especially Lancaster, Ohio. Come on, Lancaster. Let's get it going. Tell everybody, let's go. We love your feedback. Round the horn, Panda, you've been traveling a little bit. What was going on in your traveling world?
Yeah, so last time we did the podcast, we were just about to take off for Cancun and went down there and had a blast as expected. But one of the things that we did on the Monday or Tuesday of that week is we took a tour to Chichen Itza, which is like the Mayan ruins and
Oh,
um,
for us that don't speak Spanish, what was it called again? You went to
Chichen.
Chi-Chi's Mexican restaurant down
Yeah,
there?
yeah, Chi-Chi's. Yeah, that's where Chi-Chi started. Yeah.
Kai-Kai's. Okay.
Hi guys. Chichen Itza is how
Chichen Itza. Okay, got
it's
it.
pronounced, and it's the largest
Okay.
like pyramidal structure in the Mayan civilization. And anyway, I'm kind of you know love that stuff, and I want to see that. I want to go to the Great Pyramid, all that stuff. So say, hey, we're there. Let's go do that. It was like a 2.5 hour drive out and back. But one of the things that I learned that I don't know if you had the same impression that I did, but all the history books and all those classes you snoozed through in high school, Steve. See, if, I don't know if you remembered anything, but
I never snoozed. I skipped them. I don't know about you.
oh, okay. Well, I knew that when
I
the
had people like you I'd cheat off of. Come on.
there you go. Well, I knew the Spaniards came and entered their turf, right? And they brought all the disease and viruses and stuff in it. And my recollection was that the Mayan civilization died. That was gone. There's no sign of Mayans. And then I come to find out that all that really
Kind of
happened
like the
was
class of 1983. I mean, and reunions.
right.
Sorry. Love you guys. Go ahead.
um, yeah. So as it turns out, the Mayan civilization didn't die off. They just left these big communities they built up with the big pyramids and whatnot, and they just moved into the small little town. So anyway, our guide was telling us that the Mayan men are little like 5 foot
Little wheelers.
two.
Is that what you're trying to say?
I wasn't going to say that, but they're little men, little short men, I
My
should
last name
say.
is Mayan. I don't know. I have
Right.
23 and Me tells me something. I'm from
I
Mexico.
thought
I
that
don't know
was
what
your
I'm that.
middle name, but they're short guys with big heads and no necks, and I'm like, okay,
We are
that's
known for our big heads. I understand.
well, as it turns out, as we moved into the Yucatan Peninsula area, there is chock full of little men with big heads and no necks. And I'm like, oh, there's Mayans everywhere. So I learned something. I thought the Mayans were all dead and gone, but no, they lived on, just moved into their little abodes.
Whoa, whoa,
So
whoa. My neck is long too. Let's not kid each other.
okay, you got a big long
It's
neck.
not
There
the
you go.
size of the foot. My neck is still.
Ah, I'll tell you what, these Mayan men, they got heads much bigger noggins than you do. So I don't know if anything
I
else
think we're
correlates
talking
with
about the
that.
same thing, but maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not.
That is fascinating. That's really good.
It was something I learned on the trip that I didn't expect to learn. But yeah, and then we got back and then we took off for Hilton Head. So we're doing the first episode from Hilton Head at our place here. And so loving 73 degrees and
Quit promoting it. We don't want more people moving down there.
I
It's the
know
best time of the year. There's nobody there. The
there's
restaurants
nobody
are awesome.
here. It's
Get on the
awesome.
bikes, go down to the places.
Yeah.
Holy crap, it's awesome.
Did a big long walk around Shelter Cove today. So loving life. How about
So,
you?
Panda, we were at wedding and conference. We did a little North Carolina tour, and I had it's been a long time since I've been to Raleigh, North Carolina. I think I was counted up like 1994 or something. I was really 30 years ago. And I was on the outskirts of Raleigh, but downtown hidden gem of a secret. Raleigh, North Carolina. I definitely would vote it up there. It's definitely a place to go uh, go there. I'm not saying to spend a week, but for a weekend, great restaurant scene, great little pockets of areas, safe, friendly town. And we went there for a wedding. And by the way, hats off to the Caroline and Scott Parmeter. What a fantastic venue. Congratulations, Megan and Walter. Just a great. The Friday night venue was outdoors. They took a risk in November 10th or whatever, outdoor Friday
Mm,
night welcome dinner for everybody
mm.
that was in town around the wedding, which turned out to be about 150 people. Just a beautiful spot right downtown Raleigh. And then the wedding was actually at an art center, the Museum of Arts of Raleigh. They held weddings in this, and it just fantastic. You know, you're sitting around statues from Rome and statues from Greece, and oh, by the way, we're trying to have a little wedding party, and then of course afterwards was a karaoke, and yours truly sang their song that's famous.
Oh no, you did not sing that song.
It's recorded now 33
Oh
times.
my
Yeah,
God.
the song's recorded again. And
Oh my
so,
God.
but there was a saving grace. The saving grace was I got a crew of about 100 people up. So Megan's mom's name is Caroline. So I got the whole entire audience as I'm standing on top of a table, maybe a little tipsy, standing on top of a table, and I've got the groom's father right in front of me, and we've got everybody in the place singing "Sweet Caroline," ba ba ba, which is her mom, and singing "Sweet Caroline." So there was 100 people just dancing and screaming and laughing and crying, and so it turned out it was at a point in the night that we had everybody come and sing.
Steve, we really need to pull you out of your shell, man. I tell you what.
Yeah, I gotta stop being so introverted. I don't know what it is, but I gotta tell you the groom's dad. He was pretty. He's not an introvert. He's very much an extrovert, but he didn't talk a lot. But man, when I got up there and sang the song, that guy was peeing his pants, laughing, crying. So I knew I checked the box off. I made the guy laugh, and that was kind of my goal. He was not much of a laughing character, and
There is
he
nothing to do but laugh when we watch you perform that song. So I can already hear it and visualize it based on last year's event.
I've
And you
lost
were,
my voice this entire week. Right now, this moment is the first time I've actually been able to talk the entire week.
oh wow.
But yep. So they rolled it into a conference of all my commuter peeps, and my commuter peeps were all talking about what they're going to be doing with the new regime coming in, and how we're going to go out there and promote more commuter programs. So there's a conference for a couple days in Charlotte, and got this. Oh, by the way, anybody going to Charlotte? Big side note: best thing you ever want to do is something called the Funny Bus in Charlotte. Holy crap! We stumbled across a sign that said, "Hey, you got to ride the Funny Bus." And Aunt Panda, it's a 90-minute tour. Just it takes you through Charlotte. You get all right. You get to see. You could ride the double decker red bus through any city and go, yeah, that's fine. This one has a comedian, and they promote bringing on a case of beer or a bucket of wine onto the bus. So you can already tell what crowd is coming on the bus.
Mm.
And it's not necessarily a young crowd. It is a crowd, and we had a ball riding around on the fun bus for 90 minutes, exploring through the town of Charlotte with the comedian, just hooping it up. And so anybody going to Charlotte, go see the Funny Bus. Go make your reservation. I will definitely stamp high on that one. All right, we're going into the Dirty Niner. So we are at the time period. You know, who cares what year it is? But we are now approaching holiday this year. A holiday I learned today that was made the national holiday by Abraham Lincoln
Hmm.
back in 1864. It was already a national. We always thought it was the Pilgrims that brought this on. You know, whatever growing up, I guess watching Charlie Brown going, hey, the Pilgrims are going, well, actually started 200 years before that. So I guess it was 1664 or something like that. But he finally made it a national holiday. And we thought about it and go, hey, what's your favorite Thanksgiving dishes? You know, what makes you go, oh, good God, I have to have this year. It just makes me salivate thinking about it. And you know, what is the thing you go, holy crap, that is going to be so good. Panda, I'll go ahead and kick it off with you. I know I've got a bunch, but I think you probably will lead the list. Go ahead. What's number
Yeah.
one on your list?
So we created a young family tradition. I don't know, about maybe 10 years ago, maybe 8 years, not sure. We none of the boys and I and Jill didn't really love turkey, like a turkey sandwich or whatnot, but the whole point of cooking a turkey and all that. So we decided one year to try something totally different, and we ordered in
Tofu, please tell me.
Montgomery and ribs from Cincinnati, flew them in, and started that as a tradition. And it was so well received that that's what we did every year, until the boys kind of left
Have
the
to, yeah,
roost.
have their.
So that yeah, we probably did that 6 or 7 years in a row and just
I did
loved it.
not know that.
Yep.
Montgomery in ribs.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Much, and
Oh,
you know
good.
what? They come in packed in obviously dry ice, whatever. You put them in the fridge, take them out of the freezer, put them in the fridge like the night before, and then literally you turn your broiler on. It's like 4 minutes on one side, 3 minutes on the other, and boom, and you're eating ribs. It's like the fastest thing ever, too. It's just a beautiful thing.
Across the nation listening, Montgomery and ribs, to die for.
Very,
That
very
place
good. Very
is
good.
all the above. Very good.
Yeah, and
Wow, that's a good call.
they send their barbecue sauce and everything with. So yeah, that's number one on our list.
That's a really good call. I'm gonna go a little different because meat is definitely top of the list, and we're gonna talk about meat as well. But you know, the one thing that when I moved around, especially this neighborhood, it didn't happen until moved to this neighborhood, and we've got a local barbecue joint that just makes it's one of the best dishes around the whole town. It even everywhere I travel is a sweet potato casserole that is lined with marshmallows. And a place here around here called Q makes the best potatoes with and we have to have every year. My family, I'm going, I have to have those sweet potatoes and mushroom. I don't care where I'm at. We got to have, if we're flying somewhere, I got to figure out how it's flown there. I got to figure out how we have it for the meal. I don't care what it is. That one's one of my, it makes my, right now, I think I'm losing it. I'm like the dog with a bone in front of me right now, thinking about that sweet potato casserole. So I'm
Wow,
actually going to be in Florida this year for Thanksgiving, and I'm flying down with a little sweet potato casserole
nice.
in the car going down to Florida.
You're gonna fly in your car?
Yeah, I'm flying home, and I'm flying in the car to get there as long as traffic lets me.
Wow, Q. We go there about once a week, so we love that place. The food's amazing. I haven't tried that one though, but I'll have to give it a shot. All right, so number two, and now we're getting for me, it's just a bunch of sides that I personally love. I don't like a lot of the traditional Thanksgiving stuff, so I guess you probably figured that out by the ribs is our number one. But I my so we used to go, and I'm going to talk about it more in the next segment. But we used to go to like my dad's parents, my grandparents on my dad's side, and then the relatives on my mom's side, pretty much every year. And one of the things that on my dad's side is they made the best homemade noodles. So chicken and noodle, like you get the mashed potatoes and then you get your noodles, chicken noodles, whatever, and put it over the mashed potatoes. And I'm telling you what, I used to like pile the plate full of mashed potatoes and then just load it up with noodles. They ended up having to make two batches because not
You
just
and
me, but
Jeff,
yeah, me and Jeff and several others were just totally going off on these things. So that was the best kind of side dish that I ever had
homemade
growing up.
egg noodles. Is it what? Yeah,
Yeah,
homemade.
yeah,
Wow. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Very
we've had
good.
that around the house, but never at Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Ooh, that's a good call.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very tasty.
Nice. Well, I'm going to go with the one that I actually had. So that was number three. Number four, I'm going to go. I haven't made it in a few years, but I just love doing it. And I haven't made it just because I had one year was a bad batch, and then yeah, it wasn't good. Yeah, but it was a deep fried turkey. For
Mm.
those that
Mm.
are
It's
good at it
good.
every year, hats off,
Yeah.
man. A deep fried turkey, there's nothing better than a deep
No,
fried turkey. It's juicy. That's why.
I agree. Yeah. It's
It's
so
juicy,
flavorful. Yeah.
flavorful, and if you
Yeah.
bread it right, it's perfect. I haven't done one in a few years, but hats off to the deep fried turkey people doing that. Number four. What's number five there, Panda?
So my mom used to make this dish, and I've never seen anybody make it quite the way she does. So every time I have somebody else's version, it never quite lives up to my expectation. But she used to make this corn casserole, and I can't really describe why it was different. A lot of these corn casseroles get really sloppy and syrupy or whatever. Hers was actually had like a consistency to it. It was, I can't describe it, but it was always my favorite dish. So I would, if my plate wasn't completely full of chicken and noodles, it was completely, the rest of it was taken up by the corn casserole. So I used to just pig on that stuff.
Nice number five. That's a nice one. Yeah. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with a tie of at six, and it's two dishes, and I have to include both because my number eight is a story. But my number six dishes there. My daughter makes the meanest five cheese mac and cheese casserole that is
Ooh,
just to
ooh,
die for. It's
ooh.
just one of the best. And back in the day, my mother made the best broccoli casserole going on for Thanksgiving too, and put all the. I love that. You think about those things, you go, you time of what makes you think about those things, and both those two dishes every time, like, oh God bless, I want both of those. So that's
Mm,
my number six.
nice. Yeah, I'm starting to salivate myself. All right, so number seven. So this, sounds pretty simplistic, but I just loved it. It's kind of like fruit cocktail, but it was called a fruit salad where you'd get your pineapple and your pears and your strawberries and bananas, and you would put it in the fruit juice, whatever, and we'd always have it in a cup, whatever. And man, I would have two or three cups of that stuff. I
And
don't
mom called it Del Monte. Is that what she called
no, it
it?
was, believe it or not, it was mostly
Homemade.
yeah, it was so tasty. Jill does a good job, and her mom as well.
She calls it Del Monte too.
Yeah, well, there might be a little assistance there. I'm not really sure, but it doesn't matter because my belly doesn't know the
Yeah,
difference.
it doesn't know. Don't tell me, just let me eat it.
Exactly.
All right, number eight has a story for me. Listen up, people. This is a great story. Maybe, maybe not, but so I love it. I always loved turkey. And me growing up, our family was in Pennsylvania. My mom and dad both came from six-person families of six boys, six girls, three boys, three girls on each side, kind of very evenly split. So we always go back to my mom's side of the family for the Thanksgiving dinner, and usually the preacher from the Baptist church would come over, and I mean it was a huge gathering, 30 people easily, always, every year, just packed in this tiny house on the High River. And one year, so they're all in the kitchen. They always prepare everything, get everything going. And my grandmother, her daughter lived with her, and their daughter's daughter, my cousin, they all lived together in the same house. And they had this little, uh, I'll be kind, but it was a little tiny dog that was just ratty, nasty, blah. Just ratty, nasty little
Yeah.
dog. It'd bark at everything. And my dad and I were just hanging out and talking, and they had finished off the turkey. And we had one room that had these 30 chairs that spread throughout the room, this big old table. and they put the turkey out there, and everybody was in that back room, just in the kitchen, just getting everything together. My dad and I are standing in his room. Well, this little nasty ass dog jumps on a chair, jumps on top of the table, goes over the turkey, and just starts. And so my dad and I couldn't get over to it fast enough. And it goes from there over to the gravy, starts
Oh
licking
my
up the gravy,
God.
and goes over the. I mean, we literally couldn't grab it fast enough. Finally, I grab that thing and I throw him outside, and I look over at my dad and I go,
Not telling anybody.
I said, Dad, we can't tell anybody. He goes,
Oh,
I go, we can't spoil this thing. If we don't tell anybody, it's okay. But I go, I'm not eating here.
Steve and Jerry, why aren't you guys hungry?
I go, I think we're invited to another one, weren't we? He goes, yeah. I go, how about we, say our, do our prayer here and let everybody go do their stuff. And I don't want to tell anybody because I don't want to ruin it for them, but I'm not eating that stuff.
Oh my God, that's a
So
classic.
that's our story we've always told throughout the years. We waited probably 15, 20 years before we ever told that to anybody.
Mm. Oh,
So
that's
I still love me a
awesome.
big turkey without the dog eating it up on it, the little nasty thing.
That's funny. I can picture that dog in my head.
Oh, good God. It's one of these little things. It's just got
Yeah,
dirt nasty.
yeah.
It's
Well, let
not,
me.
if it was a clean little dog, okay,
Yeah,
we're all right. But yeah. Go
let
ahead,
me
Panda.
close.
Number
Let me close
nine.
this one out. So my family on my mom's side is German, and my grandmother on my mom's side, she had a lot of recipes for cookies that were all German in a book, and they were typically baked for Christmas, but a lot of times they would start the process in November, and so we'd get some of the early returns cookies for Thanksgiving, and so I always remember just like I ended up falling in love with like these no bakes. These no bakes are the
Yeah,
best you've ever
yeah.
had, and then there's like snickerdoodles and all these things. So there again, it was mostly a Christmas thing, but my mom would pull some out for Thanksgiving. So I just always remember she had like a yellow Tupperware bowl that was about I don't know about 10 inches wide, whatever. It was just full of cookies. And my little grubby hand, my brother too, both of us, going through the bowl and grabbing. He liked certain cookies, I like certain cookies, and yeah, we would just throw down on cookies at Thanksgiving after all of the calories we had eaten earlier, but it didn't matter. We just yeah. So I'm gonna close it out with the old German cookies.
Cookies. Oh, good God. That sounds fantastic.
That we didn't even get into pies and all that stuff and pumpkin
We're
pie
going to
and all
talk a
that,
little
but
bit about that in Thanksgiving traditions, but that's the dirty niner of the podcast. We're going to talk a little bit more, for everybody. This is about happy time. Think about those traditions, those things that just put a smile on your face, and we're going to carry that on with traditions. Pan and I grew up around the same hometown, and a lot of people around the everywhere had traditions. You're meeting up with friends, whether you start down in high school playing that football game, the Turkey Bowl, or you're going out there playing a little golf, or the girls are getting together for catching up and sitting around each other, or the poker game of Thursday night. But there was all the Thanksgiving traditions, and so we're going to talk a little about what were your Thanksgiving traditions. So, Panda, I can kick it off. You can kick it off.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
You
All
take
right.
this one.
So I'm going to talk about one of the traditions. So certainly, you mentioned pie. I'm going to talk about two that think about. One of those is my father made pies. Became what his specialty was. So whenever I think about Thanksgiving, my father made a lemon meringue and he made a pecan pie and he also made a cherry pie, which my father didn't cook, didn't do anything, but he became the pie guy at Thanksgiving. And so it was one of those traditions. I didn't include it in the Dirty Niner, not because it wasn't good, because it was so good that, just every time you're going, I wonder what he's going to make this year. He's going to make two, one. Is he going to be able to make anything at all? So he always did a good job. Always everything scratch, not no pre-made anything, and he did a great job. And he was so proud of his pies, and he was proud of it because everybody always asked about that. And I think I think one of those other traditions to ever think about is as a family, we always gather together, like in Pennsylvania. And so having those traditions where we always got together, had that big meal. The dog didn't always get to eat it, but as soon as the meal was over, one of the games we played at the end of the night was a game. All of a sudden I'm forgetting about it. Where uh, not pinochle, but it was one where you had a green mat in front of the table, and you were playing
Hmm.
with pennies. And
Hmm.
one was a poker game, and so we would play this card game, and it would last for hours throughout the night. And everybody looked forward to the game. We always had an uncle we always get accused of cheating.
Everybody's got an
You know,
uncle
like
like
for
that.
for a dollar, right? He cheated for a dollar.
Yeah.
I'm going, come on, he's not cheating for a dollar, but maybe he did. I don't know. Those that's just playing those games and the family camaraderie and the just the competitiveness. Those are things you remember a lot.
Yep. I have a similar recollection. So most of our family was around Central Ohio, and so we had my dad's side, and they're all from Bremen, and but had moved around Ohio, and my grandparents had a farm out in Bremen, and we would go there regularly, like maybe every other Sunday or sometimes every Sunday.
Is that where you
Uh,
run the motorcycles?
and that's where we ran motorcycles. Yep. Um, so that's where we kept them, and so we loved the motorcycles. So when we had motorcycles, we wanted to go out there all the time. But for Thanksgiving, yeah, we definitely would go out there. And what we normally do is we do the early Thanksgiving at the farm and go out there, by 11:30 or so, 11:30, do that, watch the early football game, and then we would and that would be all, it would be my aunts, my uncles, my grandparents, obviously my family, all of my cousins, and we just did all kinds of stupid stuff and crazy things out there. And it was always, we just always had a blast. So that was cool. But then inevitably we would have to leave around 3 or 4 because on my mom's side, a lot of those folks are from Michigan, and they would drive down that morning, and we would have more of a mid-afternoon. Now, I think they actually would start before we got there, so we'd always were getting there late. So I guess maybe they maybe were coming down the night before. But anyway, there'd be a whole bunch of folks, cousins and second cousins, and it was a much bigger event. It was my aunt Mary Alice's place over there by uh, you know as you go out towards. Where the country club was. There's a park down there. Is it South Park? South Park. Not that one, but
Panda grew up in South Park. I think he's that kid that
yeah,
wears the cap.
yeah. No. So at her place, they had a big place, and so we would go out there, and I had a bunch of crazy like cousin uncles that were older. They were cousins, maybe second cousin, but they were almost like uncle age, and they were crazy, and we would play basketball and stuff. So a lot of what I did experience growing up, and it sounds like you did as well, is the families definitely came together, and that doesn't really happen, at least in my family anymore. We've all distributed across the country or wherever, and it's really harder to do that. When we go back to Ohio, we'll be very we'll have gathering with my immediate family, but for the most part, my kids did not have that experience that I had growing up.
Yeah, but they still came back to mom and dad with the Montgomery and ribs, right?
Well, I mean, they
Come
definitely
on, they still
enjoyed
came
they
back,
enjoyed their
right?
meal, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying that we had a different experience, and I don't know if everybody has the same evolution that we did, but it's just definitely different these days as compared to the way it was growing up. And at the time, I probably didn't always appreciate it as much as I do now.
I
How
think
much
it's
fun that
because
was.
yeah, everybody's moving away, right? Dispersing and
Yep,
going to where the jobs are. Yeah, I mean
yep,
that's what really a lot of that happens.
yep.
All right, moving on to the rivalry games. We are definitely uh as Panda mentioned, watching the games on Thursday with the Lions and the Dallas Cowboys. They were always there, and you always knew the Lions always lost, and the Cowboys most of the time won. But maybe now not in current years. But the rivalry games really came after that. because on this podcast, we don't kid ourselves. We are college football junkies, and I think college football is throwing a game in now on Thanksgiving. And so you talk about, we all let's already put out the number one college football. There's no whoever can argue about maybe the Iron Bowl being number one. Yeah, it's a good one, but Michigan, Ohio State's been the longest running one. Definitely the one it has been a number one, number two has gone against each other probably more times than not than any other rivalry going on. And we can always talk about that one. And, sitting across the TV on that Saturday was. So tell us, what do you think about some of the rivalry games that you remember back in the past?
Yeah, that was obviously the big one, so I won't delve into that anymore. But I experienced this when I was in grad school at University of Texas. They actually played the Texas A&M game on
On
Thanksgiving evening.
Thanksgiving. That's
Yeah,
I thought it was played during the year, but that used to be
yeah, yeah,
Thanksgiving evening.
yeah. So I actually drove over there with a bunch of my student friends, classmates, and we drove over, and it was like I just remember College Station just being way out in the middle of nowhere, and it was like icy, and I'm surprised we didn't like die, honestly. But
It's
um,
flat. There's no hill to go
yeah,
off of. Not
no,
like
exactly,
Ohio. If you're gonna wreck.
exactly. That was to our benefit. So we got there and went to the game, and there's some nice bars. It's actually a cool little college town there, but
More
that
than
was
that, more than that. Let's
it's
say
grown quite a bit. It's
yes, it is
grown
a
since I've been
freaking
there.
awesome place. You ever want to go see a good college football game? Texas A&M is definitely a destination to go for. Sorry to interrupt. That
This
is just, yeah.
the stadium is probably twice as big now as it was. The end zones weren't even enclosed when I went there. It was that long ago. But that was when R.C. Slocum was really at the king of the Southwest Conference or Big 12, whatever it was at the time. And Texas had John Mackovic, and he was not great. And so they just smacked us around. I remember that. But that was always a big game for the folks in Texas, for sure.
Yeah, I got to go think about some of those other ones too. I mentioned the Alabama and Auburn game. Same thing. Michigan, Ohio State. Didn't matter if any one of those teams were ranked 40th. Uh, that's a It didn't matter. They were chasing it down. Auburn, Alabama, same deal. And I'm not a fan of the hatred of another team. I just don't like that. But Woody Hayes and Bo Schembechler created that first hatred going across for the Ohio Michigan thing of they couldn't even say the name of the place. The M's are crossed out through the Columbus area. You can't ever do the M, and it becomes the team from up north, not Michigan. And the same thing in Alabama. I don't know if anybody remembers the highway patrolman that called in some sports talk station, and he said that he put gasoline at the base of the Auburn tree to kill the Auburn tree at Tooper's Corner. I can't. I'm definitely pronouncing that wrong.
Tumors
Tumors.
corner.
I said
Yeah,
Tumor's Corner, and killed the tree. And I'm going, you have to be one of the dumbest human beings on the planet of just admitting guilt. And then,
yeah,
why would you even think about doing
right.
something that dumb? But you become one of those rivalries of I don't like I love when you get two teams together and the fans can be friends the whole way through except for 4 quarters of the game and screaming it against each other, and then you walk out of the stadium and go, hey, great game, uh, and watch a good game. And
Do you remember Harvard and Yale? That was always a big Thanksgiving
ooh,
rivalry.
good call,
At one
yeah.
point, I think it was the Yale
Oh,
students
yeah,
somehow dug under the field, right? And when the
yes.
game was going, they like popped up out of the field, and I don't even remember what they did, but it was like a huge effort that they had to do to pull that off. That's saying something right there.
Brilliant, brilliant. I mean, those two were going at it. I can't remember if it's the same two schools, but I remember one of them had hacked into the scoreboard and changed the score of the game in the middle of the game, so that you can't do any better than that. So they were controlling it by something that wasn't cell phones. So they were controlling the score of the game and changing everything and the timing of the game.
Zuckerberg.
I mean, I love when you can pull off that. That is the brilliance. I love
That's the
when they
fun
can
stuff. Yeah.
pull off the pranks that they can
Yeah.
possibly do for any of those games. And now it's so hard because of
Yeah.
security and already done that before. But that's probably the best of any rivalry game. If you can figure out a prank that's very soft, still funny, doesn't hurt anybody, but you can pull off any prank like that, game on, man. That is
Yeah.
my favorite.
Yeah.
Matter of
But
fact,
the,
we got to go dig up some of those and think about those and come up
yeah.
with some good stories there. That is just, I love that stuff.
The on actual Thanksgiving Day, that was it was mostly about NFL, and then, I'm not sure why this is the case, but it was always the Lions, Bears, Packers, Cowboys, or some version of those
Yeah,
teams were always on.
yeah.
And like I said, my mom's family, many were from Michigan, so when they would come down, we would automatically root against the Lions, just so there and there would be this battle going back and forth watching that game. I remember a lot of yelling and cursing and a lot of highballs being consumed and all of that back in the day. But
Oh, so you had the drinkers. We never had any of the
oh
drinkers in the
yeah,
family.
oh
We
my,
had
we
none
had.
of that.
But that's the one thing in common both sides of my family had were the drinkers. They were
Yeah, we didn't
lots of
have,
drink.
thank God we didn't have any of that during those days. But in Pennsylvania for back in the day was Penn State Pitt. They don't play that now,
Mm,
but that was one of the best games for
mm.
us watching that. And, for Pennsylvania, you were on one side or the other, and it was hard to
Yep.
be on a side. I love both teams. Back when I was growing up, it was Dan Marino and who was the running back for Pitt, played
Well,
for
it's
Dallas,
Tony Dorsett.
Tony Dorsett.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, those two just were freaking awesome. And then even
Hmm.
before that at Penn State was Franco Harris and
Mm.
with
They had
Lydell Mitchell,
Lydell Mitchell, Rocky Blyer. They had a bunch of good backs.
and then Jack Ham on the defense. So you mean just, I mean, so it was always hard picking one of those teams. I loved
Yeah.
all of them. I could never pick one, and every year it'd be a different one depending on who I thought was going to win. But yeah, I love those rivalry games. And we're leaving a ton out. You think about the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. That's been one of the big Thanksgiving Day games.
Vandy, Tennessee. Yeah, all those big games.
OU Miami. I don't know.
Yeah. Another big one was Clemson, South Carolina, which I think is still a
Oh,
big game.
that's a big one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's going to be a good game this year. Oh,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, I'm going to South Carolina Friday. That is a really good team. They should have never lost to LSU, and
They are
they should have beat
better.
the snot out of Alabama. Sorry, sweetie, I do love you, but Alabama should have lost. You know
Oh.
it. Please don't kick my butt.
That's funny.
All right, moving into our last segment. It is our one of our funnest segment that Mr. Panda has came up with. It is about putting a smile on your face and thinking about a thing in your life called life's little pleasures. What is something that makes a smile on your face? When we're talking about Thanksgiving, there's a lot of moments that we can have one of those. Panda, what is something that is life's little pleasures as we approach the holiday weekend?
Yeah. Mine is definitely Thanksgiving related. I probably didn't appreciate these moments, going through them as I do now, looking back. But I mentioned we'd go to both sides of the family for Thanksgiving, and inevitably, when we're at the farm on my dad's side, they had a small little room with the TV and chairs and couches that went around the perimeter, and you'd bring in, chairs from the kitchen, whatever, and you were watching the football game on Thanksgiving. If it wasn't Thanksgiving, it would be like a race. And I remember, my dad was a Chevy guy, and a bunch of the other uncles are Ford guys, and his brother was a Ford guy. And so there would always be these back and forths, and you'd have like 20 people in a room watching whatever the sporting event was, and the uncles and my dad and uncles and aunts, and just going back and forth, good natured ribbing. And, if it was because we were Bengals fans, but most of my dad's side were Browns fans. So if the Bengals and Browns are playing, we just going back and forth. And, as a kid, I really wasn't participating in the back and forth, but I was just listening. And I've come to realize how much I really love that. And the same goes for when I would go to my mom's side, and it would be more in the evening, and we're watching the Lions and all the Michigan people. And my aunt had a big room, and it could hold like 30 or 40 people. And you had one TV, and everybody, all those 30 people are
Black and white.
watching. Yeah, but well, probably. And they're watching the same game. And as kids, you're just like lined up on the floor, right? So you had like 20 kids on the floor. You had like 20 adults in whatever chairs and couches.
And you're the TV
And
channel changer too.
yeah, can you change the channel to channel 10? Um, but it just looking back, like I love just being a fly on the wall and listening to people interact and go back and forth. And I realized that we if we had cell phones back then, none of that would happen because all the kids would have been somewhere else in the house playing their game on their phone. And that's what happens today. You just don't get the same kind of interactions today because of these phones and how we allow that to control our lives. So as I look back, I really do appreciate the fact that I didn't have a cell phone back then, and I was able to kind of experience that. And it's, as it turns out, I think it's a life's little pleasure for me.
Nice. That's a good call. I'm kind of very similar. I don't really think about the cell phone. My when I say life's little pleasure, mine is a single thing of walking in the door. So when I say walking in the door, that has a lot of meanings to me about walking in the door. So for Thanksgiving, when we walked in the door of my grandparents, there was just a rush of enthusiasm and everybody
Mm,
hugging and just
mm,
catching up with family. And when you're in a big family like you're talking about, you're walking around 18 people of just saying
mm,
hello to 18 people, just walking in the door. And when I was in Pennsylvania, I had probably about three families we had to go see. We went through my mom's parents, and then we had to go see my dad's side of, and then we had another cousin's side we had to go through. So we had to walk in the door three times,
mm,
having that family embrace and talking and having that, discussions and catching up. And now walking in the door is the anticipation of on my cell phone tracking my kids as they're driving into the house.
mm,
So me and the dog are out there to greet them
mm,
to walk in the door. And to me, that is walking in the door is one of those things I cherish now. I
mm,
cherish even when family are coming, when my mom and dad are driving in a long trip, or
mhm,
Barb's mom and dad, Barb's dad now are coming in. I still go out there and looking at when they're going to come in and cherish walking in the door because it puts a smile on your face. It makes you happy.
yep.
And walking in the door is just something that, yeah, that's my life's little pleasure.
That's funny because I totally get that. I 100% believe that. But that is the difference between an extrovert like you and an introvert like me. Because to me, walking in the door, I just wanted to slink over to the side, go sit in a chair in the kitchen and eat some food. Because that I had the opposite reaction growing up. That was like stressful beyond measures for me.
Yeah, well, I'm the ham going, how do I make these people get a
I
smile on their
know you
face?
totally. I totally believe you, and I know it. I've seen it in person, so I know it's real. And it's just funny how just the way we're wired, and one person can have one
We're
experience and the
wired
other.
so similar and wired kind of differently on
Yeah,
how we figure out how
yeah,
to enjoy that and what makes you smile.
yeah.
Fantastic week. We've got one more thing left before we go in closing. So the Panda stumped us last week. I've heard that it was such an easy question. I didn't think that Arthur, one of my favorite movies of all time, and I quickly have put that back in the memory banks and never remember more. So this one you are on a sliding curve. You just need to get
Okay,
50% right.
okay.
So we don't want to have a lot of uhs and oohs and but so we're gonna. I don't have the Jeopardy countdown of.
Oh boy, oh
I
boy.
wish I had the music to go with it.
So
But
what are we
we're
talking
gonna
about?
get.
Is this a movie
This
or
is a
what?
graded on a curve. No, this is a sports question. A
Sports
very
question?
relevant sports question.
Okay,
So
all right.
since the year 2000, so we
2000.
have 24 years.
Okay,
The last 24 years,
okay.
there are 10 coaches that have reached the 10-0 mark their first year of coaching. Can you name five of those 10 coaches. This is on a graded curve. I came up with 4.
So hold on. So they're the first time coach at that
First
school
first
or
year,
first
yeah, first year of
at that
coaching at
school.
that school.
At that school. Okay.
At that
So
school since
Earl Bruce is
2020. So
definitely
we don't.
one. I knew Earl Bruce in his first year at Ohio
No, no,
State.
no. We're going back to 2000.
Oh, you're right.
Not
Okay,
going
got it.
back at
All
no,
right.
no,
Well,
no. In the last 24 years,
okay.
there are 10 coaches, and there are 3 layups in
Ryan
the
Day's
last.
one.
Hey, and there we have ding, 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 ding. We got one.
Okay.
That
Ryan
I got
Day.
that one too. That was
Kurt
one of my.
Signetti from Indiana.
I missed that one. I didn't catch that one because I went, oh yeah. And matter of fact, the whole team that we were listening to did not have that one, but you got it. That's because the Panda's so smart. You're almost at the curve. You just need 5 out
Wow.
of the 10.
Wow. So going back
Just
like
24 years.
like Jimbo Fisher, did he do it?
There are 4 easy ones to go still, and there's
Saban
yep.
didn't. Saban didn't.
The other ones are pretty hard. All right.
Oh, well, shoot, Urban Meyer did. He was 12-0. Yeah.
I didn't get that one. I did not get them. No, no, no. I got Urban Meyer. I forgot Ryan Day. Yeah, nice.
So
You
that's
got the Urban
3.
Meyer. You've got
3.
3. 2 more to go.
Jeez. 10-0. I mean, that's
All right. I will give you the first clue is out of the rest of the teams you're looking at, one, two, three. 3 are in the top 12 this year, the teams, but not the coach. But 3 of the teams are in the top 12. Pretty good hint.
Larry Coker.
Bingo!
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
Wow.
Larry Coker at Miami. Yeah, that was just under the
I never would have
2000
got
gun.
that one. Never
Yeah.
would have got that one. Yeah. Never, ever would have got that one. You still have an Ohio State coach that is outstanding, not part of any of these teams that they're in the top 12, but you still have one Ohio State coach that was 10-0 in his first year of coaching.
From 2000 on, there was only Jim Tressel, and then
not at Ohio State, just an Ohio State coach.
Ohio State coach, not Chip Kelly.
Yeah, that was one of the ones that was in my head. No. He's not at Ohio State anymore.
Oh, this coach was at Ohio State.
This coach was at Ohio State.
Not a head coach at Ohio State because
no, not a head coach.
We've run out of those guys.
The rest of them are pretty hard. Everybody else here is pretty hard, but there's still 2 teams in the top 12. Definitely, there's one name you would never know.
Who's the Boise State coach? Who's the Boise State coach that was so good back in the day?
He may have went to Washington. He may be an announcer on CBS.
Oh yeah, what's his name? Chris Peterson.
Bingo!
Yeah.
All right, who's the Ohio State coach?
Who's the Ohio State
may
coach?
have coached one of your alma maters. But before he went there, he came from another place that he got the 10-0 record.
Oh.
And
not James Franklin.
No, they ran him out of your alma mater for your master's.
Yeah.
And he was an Ohio State assistant when he won the national championship as the offensive coach.
You're going to have to I don't remember.
2000, we were at the New Orleans Rose Bowl, and he was the offensive coach back then. I think it was, that year. Who was the offensive coach for the Buckeyes in 2003? I think it was 3, not 14. Yeah, 3.
2000.
Who was the Houston coach that went 10-0?
Oh, Tom Herman. Tom Herman at Houston. Oh my God, you're right. I should
I
have
would
gotten that
never would
one.
have gotten that one. I never. It was
Yeah.
in my thoughts.
Who are the others? I'm done. I'm toast.
Yeah. That. So the other one was a good one too. At UCF, his first year at UCF, he is now
Oh,
coaching Tennessee.
oh, really?
Josh
Interesting.
Heupel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a
Okay.
good one too.
Yeah.
The other two, never in my lifetime. Liberty, Jimmy Chadwell. Last year went
Oh.
10-0 at
Hmm.
Liberty. Never would have known that.
No.
And BYU in 2001, Gary Croton. Never in a lifetime would never know who
Never.
that one is.
No. Never
No,
got
but
that.
reason why that was interesting, you caught Signetti right at the beginning, and when they said the question, I went, I'd never even thought about Signetti. I had Urban Meyer, and I had Larry Koch or Chris Peterson, and I had Ryan Day on the tongue, and then I had Sonny Dykes at TCU.
Oh.
That was the other one I left
Oh.
down there. Yeah. I had him too, but I was at 4 and went, man, I don't know who else it is.
So that I
That,
got a passing grade on that then, right?
you got a
Like it.
passing grade with
All right. Little help,
little
little
help. You got the
assistance.
passing. You met the curve.
Okay.
Unlike me with trying to guess Arthur.
I won't go so hard next time. Next one won't
No,
be
that
so
was a
hard.
good one.
I
Yeah,
thought so.
my wife was going, Arthur.
Yeah.
When she watched the podcast. I'm going, what the hell are you talking about? What
I
do you mean,
know. It's such
Arthur?
a good line. It really was. I just love that. The way it was delivered, Sir John Gielgud, he just delivered it so perfectly. I'll alert the media.
I'll alert the media. Right. We'll throw a parade.
Yeah.
Panda, great podcast. Thank you for all of our listeners. Please go hit the like. We love you guys and questions and suggested interviews. If you've got somebody we need to interview,
Yep.
let's include them on the podcast. And thank everybody. Great job there, Panda.
Yep.
Any
Enjoyed
closing
it.
remarks?
No, all good. And yeah, we're gonna be reaching out to some of our old friends from back in the high school days and try to get them on, talk about various events and sports teams and whatnot. We had a really good time with Wally last week, so we're gonna try to replicate that with a few more folks. So yeah, you'll be hearing from us, peeps.
Fantastic. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thanks all.